Assalamu alaikum students. How are you all? I hope you are all doing good. I am Mrs. Nabina, MSc B.Ed, and I am your computer teacher. This session is the introduction and the detailed first lesson of 11th standard computer applications and computer science. As you are promoted to 11th standard, you have chosen this subject as in your group. Am I right? You are going to learn 2 languages with accounts, commerce, economics and computer applications for all students. In the same way, science group students are going to learn 2 languages with maths, physics, chemistry and computer science. In 10th standard, you have learned only 5 subjects. So, computer is a new subject for you. But most of the students have learned computer science up to 9th standard. But some of them are going to learn computer as a new subject. So, I welcome everyone to this class. I hope the journey will be fruitful and joyful for everyone. Let us see the Unit 1 in our textbook. So, Unit 1 is Fundamentals of Computer and Working with the Typical Operating Systems, Windows and Linux. This unit has 5 chapters. So, our first chapter is Introduction to Computers. It is an easiest chapter. It's a known thing. You are going to recall it again with the latest inventions. Let's start the class. In today's session, we are going to learn a new chapter, that is Introduction to Computers. Before we step into the topic, we shall understand what are the things we are going to learn today. Today, we will be learning about small introduction about computers, various generations of computers. So, based on the development of computer technology, they have categorized the computer to several generations. So, generations of computer. The third one is basic operations of computer. Basic operations of computer is nothing but getting the input from the user and processing it with the help of the processor and producing an output. So, this is the basic operations of the computer. The next one is components and their functions. Based on the operations of the computer, they have classified the components of the computer as input unit, central processing unit and output unit. And also we have input and output devices. And the last one is booting of a computer. So, when you start or restart the computer, what happens in the process? So, what are the process happens inside the computer? That will be seen in the booting of the computer. So, first let us start with the introduction, that is a small introduction of computer. Computer plays an important role in every part of the human life. Computers are seen everywhere around us. So, it plays a major role in all the sectors, starting from education, research, travel and tourism, weather forecasting, social networking, e-commerce, etc. So, computer plays an important role in all the fields of our life. The growth of computer industry started with the need for performing fast calculations. The manual method of computing was slow and prone to errors. So, attempts were made to develop fast calculating devices. The journey started from the first known calculating device, that is abacus, which has led us today to an extremely high-speed calculating device. So, our first known calculating device is abacus. Abacus is the base, then they upgrading their inventions, and now we have the device called computer, which performs the calculations at very fast rate with high accuracy. So, what makes the human beings depend on the computer or a device, that is high accuracy and speed. So, these two things high accuracy and speed makes the human beings depend on the device. Then the next question is, what is computer? Computer is an electronic device. Why it is an electronic device? Because desktop or a laptop needs power supply for its functioning. So it is an electronic device that processes the input according to the set of instructions provided to it and gives the desired output at a very fast rate. So we have three things, that is input, process and output. Here the user is going to give the input and the computer is going to do some process and it gives the desired output. So the process is based on the instructions and process will take in a very fast rate. So the computer is very useful for doing a calculation in a very fast rate manner. Now let us see the next topic, that is generations of computers. Based on various stages of development, computers can be categorized into 6 different generations. First generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation and sixth generation. In the generation of computer, we are not going to learn the entire history of each generation. So, we are going to remember only few major points in each generation. Now, we are going to learn the first generation. Generation is first generation. Period, that is duration, is 1942 to 1955 and the major components used in each generation. So, in first generation, they have used vacuum tubes. So, this is the image of vacuum tubes and this is the cylindrical in structure. So, we need not to go in depth of what the vacuum tube is and how it works. So, we just know that vacuum tube is used in the first generation of computers. And what are all the disadvantages because of using this vacuum tubes? That is merits and demerits. We will see now. It is big in size. Vacuum tube is not big in size because of using the vacuum tubes in computers. The computer size is big. That is the meaning. Okay. And it consumes more power. So the first generation of computer consumes more power. And the third demerit is malfunction due to overheat. And the fourth one is machine language was used. Machine language is nothing but only the computer or device can able to understand the machine language. That is binary digits. Bi means 2. So, binary digits means either 0 or 1. So, they can able to understand only 0 or 1. What are all the communications we do with the computer will be converted into binary digits. So, in the first generation, only machine language was used. So, these are all the disadvantages that are faced in the first generation. First digital computer used in first generation is ENIAC. So this is the first digital computer where they have used 17,000 vacuum tubes. So this is the image of ENIAC. It consumes more power. ENIAC weighed about 27 tons. The size is very huge, that is 8 feet into 100 feet into 3 feet, and it consumes around 150 watts of power. These are the disadvantages of first generation computer. First generation computers are ENIAC, EDVAC and UNIVAC 1. And ENIAC means Electronic Numerical Integrator and Calculator, which was invented by J. Presper Eckert and John Mauchly at the University of Pennsylvania. So, it occupied about 18,000 square feet and used about 18,000 vacuum tubes. Weighed almost 50 tons. So, ENIAC was the first digital digital computer because it was fully functional. The full form of EDVAC means Electronic Discrete Variable Automatic Computer, and UNIVAC means Universal Automatic Computer. So, these are the first generation computers. So, to overcome this, they have developed a new component which they have implemented in the second generation. Now, let us move on to second generation. Second generation. Period 1955 to 1964. The components used in this generation is transistors. So, this is the image of the transistor, and by using these transistors, they have overcome all the disadvantages they have faced in first generation. The common disadvantages or drawback they have faced is big in size, consumed more power, and malfunction due to overheat. So, all these problems has been overcome little bit by implementing this component, that is transistor. The 3 points will be common for the upcoming generation, that is smaller compared to first generation. So, when compared to first generation, the computer used in this generation is smaller, then generated less heat. And the third one is consumed less power. So, all these 3 points are common in upcoming generation. And the fourth point is punched cards were used. Punched cards is nothing but a thick card where the impression will be there, and the data are stored in the impression, and the data are read with the help of the reader, and the data are read. The real-time example is the Braille book, where the blind people used to read the text. And the fifth one is first operating system was developed. Operating system is nothing but it helps the computer to initiate the process. It helps to start the computer. So, they have used 2 concepts. One is batch processing. Processing is nothing but something we are going to process. So, you are going to do some work, and how you are going to do that based on the batch. Batch is nothing but a group. It is not doing or processing the entire information, rather it split the information into various batches or groups. So, they also implemented the multi-programming. Multi means many. Simultaneously, they process the information by implementing these 2 concepts, that is batch processing and multi-programming. So, by implementing these 2 concepts, they reduce the processing time and increase the speed of the processing. And the last one is machine language as well as assembly language was used. So, in the first generation, we have told that machine language was used. Machine language is nothing but binary language, that is zeros and ones. So, the computer can be able to read or understand only zeros and ones, whereas assembly language is nothing but a unique code for a processor will assign, and the assembler will convert that code to machine language. So, this is the assembly language. Both machine language and assembly language was used in the second generation. The computers used in the second generations are IBM 1401, IBM 1620 and UNIVAC 1108. Now let us move on to third generation. Generation third, and the period used in this generation is 1964 to 1975, and the component they have used is integrated circuits that we called as IC. This is the image of the IC. Integrated means it combines 2 or more functions into a single component or a single device. So that is the main advantage of IC. Let us see the merits and demerits. The unique merit is high-level languages were used in the third generation. We have already seen machine language and assembly language, And here we are going to see about the high level language. High level language is nothing but it's a natural language. It can be easily understood by the human. That is, the user can easily understand the language. That we call it as a high level language, where the language is converted with the help of the compiler to the machine language. Okay, so apart from these unique merits, there are some common merits and demerits in it. So the computers used in the third generation were smaller, faster and more reliable, and also consumed less power and generated less heat. The mouse was not used in those days, so the monitor, keyboard and CPU. So these three devices made up a computer system. Third generation computers are IBM 360 series, Honeywell 6000 series. Now let us move on to the fourth generation. Generation 4, and the period used in the fourth generation is 1975 to 1980. And the components that have used in the fourth generation is microprocessor VLSI, that is very large scale integrated circuit. So this is the image of microprocessor very large scale integrated circuits. We have seen the integrated circuits in the third generation, right? So this is the extension of IC. We can call it as the upgraded version of IC, that is the very large scale integrated circuits. So we call it as a single name as microprocessor. Okay, the unique merits are microcomputers were introduced in this fourth generation. So microcomputer series such as IBM and Apple were developed. So this is the image of IBM computer and this is the image of Apple computer. The next merit is portable computers were introduced. So portable means we can easily carry from one place to another place, that is laptop computer. So the laptop was introduced in fourth generation. Apart from this, three common merits are there. Computers were smaller, faster and more reliable, consumed less power and generated less heat. So all these things will come under fourth generation. Now we will move on to the fifth generation. Generation 5th, and the period used in this generation is 1980 to till date. And the component used in fifth generation is ULSI, which is ultra large scale integration. We can say that the upgradation of very large scale integrated circuits, that is the previous generation, the component is microprocessor, that we call it as very large scale integrated circuits, and this is ultra large scale integration. So it integrates so many functions invest in the devices into a single component, or so many functionalities are combined into a single component, that is ultra large scale integration. In this generation, the unique merits are parallel processing, superconductors, computer size was drastically reduced, can recognize images and graphics, introduction of artificial intelligence and expert systems, and the last one is to solve high complex problems including decision making and logical reasoning. Let's see one by one now. The first one is parallel processing. Parallel means it can be able to process two or more works simultaneously. With this, the time get reduced and it acts as a superconductors. Superconductor means it will gather all the data from the common computer and based on the requirement, it distributes the data. So, based on the availability, it shares the processing. So, based on the availability or the component of the processor, it shares or it distributes the process or it distributes the data. This is superconductors. And the next one is the computer size was drastically reduced. So the size of the computer is reduced in this generation. The next one is can recognize images and graphics. The computer can able to understand what an image is, what the graphic is, and what the content is, and what an image you are tries to convey as an input. So all these things can be understandable by the computer in this fifth generation. And the next one is artificial intelligence, that is AI. Artificial intelligence means the human thought is already predefined as a program, that is an algorithm to computer, which means already predefined to the computer. For example, a person is using a computer through the internet. What are all the content he is using, based on that, the computer will act to the user. For example, a person is looking for a particular content in the internet. Automatically, the computer understand or the internet understand this person is interested more on this topic, on this specific topic. So, he needs some more information. When he return back, we need to show some information regarding his previous search. So this is what the computer thinks. Automatically, it is able to adapt with the human mind. How he thinks, based on that, acts to the particular specific user. Okay, so this is artificial intelligence. Last one is to solve high complex problems, including decision making and logical reasoning. The computer has been programmed to make the decision. It has the capable to make a decision whether to continue or not, based on the certain situation, or in an unconditional situation, it will decide automatically. For example, you are inserting the pen drive and the capacity of pen drive is 8 GB, but you have the content of 9 GB. Okay, automatically it will copy all the content till that 8 GB. Once it reaches the maximum of size, it automatically stops the process and it will display an information. How it checks? It checks and thinks logically, because it can able to understand the size of the pen drive is, and it knows that how much content it will be copy, and till the maximum limit it will copy, and automatically it stops the process. Okay, and it shows the informations that the content cannot be copied or the maximum limit is reached, etc. So likewise it displays the information. So this is the simple example of decision making and logical thinking. So this is all about the merits in fifth generation. Now let us move on to the last generation, that is sixth generation. So it is an upcoming generation in future, and the component is artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and the technology which you are going to upgrade with the upcoming years. And the merits are parallel and distributed computing. Computers have become smarter, faster, and smaller. Development of robotics, natural language processing, and development of voice recognition software. Now let us see one by one. The first one is parallel and distributed computing. We have already seen the parallel processing, that is, simultaneously can process two or more information. And the distributed computing is nothing but it can able to distribute the various number of users based on the availability of the process. It can able to distribute the process to the various processors. And the next one is development of robotics. Already we have stepped into the development of robotics and we have succeeded. And the natural language processing is nothing but what we communicate. That is, what the human communicate is the natural language. So based on the language, that is voice recognition software, so based on that software, it processes the information or process the voice, what we speak. So based on that, it processes the information. So these all comes under sixth generation. So in the sixth generation, computers could be defined as an era of intelligent computers based on the artificial neural networks. One of the most dramatic changes in the sixth generation will be the explosive growth of wide area networking. Natural language processing is a component of artificial intelligence. It provides the ability to develop the computer program to understand human language. So, till now we have seen a small introduction about computers and the generation of computers. I hope you understood these topics. Now we will move on to next topic, that is basic operations of computer. We all know what a computer is, right? It is an electronic device that processes the input according to the set of instructions provided to it and gives the desired output at a very fast rate. So this is the definition of computer. So we have seen this already, right? So computer is an electronic device. This is the first point. It gets some input from the user. This is the second point. So based on the input with the different set of instructions, it do some process. And this is the third point. Finally, it produces some output to the user. So there are four things we know about the computer. The computers are very versatile as they do a lot of different tasks such as storing data, weather forecasting, booking airlines, railway or movie tickets, and even playing games. So these all things we can done with computer. So for the basic operations of the computer, two things are needed and very important. The first thing is data and the second thing is information. So with these two things, we can able to derive the basic operations of computer. From that, we can able to conclude the definitions for computer. Now let us see what is data and what is information. So the first one is data. The definition of data is defined as an unprocessed collection of raw facts suitable for communication, interpretation or processing. Let us see the first point. Data is defined as an unprocessed collection of raw facts. So it is a fact from which we need to process to get the information or to get an idea. So it is called as unprocessed collection of raw facts. It is mainly suitable for communication, interpretation. Interpretation means evaluation. It evaluates something, from that we will get some output, and processing. For these three things, the data is mainly used. For example, 134, 16 in Kavita C are data. So these four are datas. This will not give any meaningful message because 134 is just a number. Kavita, it may be a name of the person or the shop's name. Next, 16 is also a number and C is the alphabet. So this is the basic things to know about these four terms. So this is called data. This will not give any meaningful message. This is called data. This will not give any meaningful message. From this, we need to process these data to get a meaningful output. Now, let us see information. Information is a collection of facts from which conclusions may be drawn, whereas data is an unprocessed collection of raw facts. Okay, here the information is a collection of facts from which conclusions, that is output, may be drawn. So the data will not give any meaning and the information will give some meaning. In simple words, we can say that data is a raw facts, that is processed to get meaningful, ordered or structured information. For example, Kavita is 16 years old. So see this sentence. This information is about Kavita and conveys some meaning. This conversion of data into information is called data processing. What is data processing? Conversion of data into information is called data processing. From this, we can see the basic operations of computer. This is the diagrammatic representation of the basic operations of computer, that is input, process and output. Input is the data which will be given by the user. Next is the process. The computer will do some process and produce the output to the user. So output is the information. So input is the data. Processing, the computer will do some process and produce the output to the user. So the output is information. I hope now you understand what is computer. A computer is an electronic device that takes raw data, that is unprocessed data, as an input from the user and processes it under the control of a set of instructions, that is called program, and it produces a result, that is output, and saves it for future use. So this is data and information. Students, the first part of this lesson ends here. I hope you understood this session. And the assignment of this lesson is discuss the various generations of computer. Students, submit your assignments on time. Thank you for watching this video. We'll see you in the next video class. Assalamu alaikum.